Whoops. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me? I forgot to, I may be using a microphone that's in my computer. Can you hear the audio? Oh, great. Okay. Well, I learned something new. It's possible. Hi, Mark. It's possible to use the built-in one, loud and clear. Oh, good. Good, good, good. Hi, Fernie. This time I got you. Oh, oh, good. Good, good, good. I had disconnected the microphone I usually use and put something else together. Hey, Damon, how's it going? Well, now this was an idea during the morning. Rancher said he had an idea. I need to get this guy up. Rancher said he had an idea for a topic, and it's a topic I think is really an interesting one. Hi, Abdul. It's called "How Do Emotions Attract Us to Certain Watches?" And I was thinking about that, and I thought, boy, there are all kinds of things that influence us. When you take the popularity of Rolex, for example, I've had people tell me who are Rolex fans, your collection isn't complete unless you have a Rolex. I, I guess, to me, it was like, well, that's weird. But on the other hand, I might have said, well, gee whiz, I guess, especially if you're brand new to something, you might believe that. And so when you see a Rolex, you go, oh boy, a Rolex. On the other hand, when I see something like this, for example, this Van Cleef and Arpels with a 939 Jaeger-LeCoultre movement, I get all excited about it because I place a lot of value on the movements. But then I started thinking about, what are we talking about here? Um, Howard Myers posted this really interesting long treatise, as he is wont to do, on high horology lounge, and he was going on about how we sort of come into this whole aura of Watts collection, and that we're sort of the victims of corporate intrigue or something like that. And of course he's right, but that is sort of like, we are happily in here, and then we're not dummies. We've done some things on our own that have, made change sort of the direction, I think. So anyway, I thought that the whole notion of emotions, and the example that Rancher gave was really a good one. He said, you're going through Chrono 24 or eBay or some other place, and up pops one watch after another, and one of them you go, whoa, this is neat. Fernando and I, we do this all the time, and Fernando send me one. I'll go, oh, that's a neat watch. I'll go, nah. And back and forth, and we have a lot of, so there's a lot of, I guess, what is the role of it, and does it, how does it become something? One of the things that came to mind when this came up was the whole concept of acquired taste. Um, Depending on the watch, now some watches, I guess, are almost intrinsically, to me, intrinsically, they're just like yuck. But they certain things can grow on you, and so what you may initially say is yuck is that later on say, man, What was I thinking? That's really something. Or the opposite way, what did I waste my time on these other watches for? Um, association. Sometimes a watch is associated with something else with a positive emotion. This is why these watch companies will pay a lot of money to what they call these crews or celebrities. Tag Heuer does that. They have the Tag Heuer crew, and one of them on one was Brad Pitt, and they'll give them the money and they'll say anything. Um, but then I saw this thing that there was like a quote, mini scandal. There was a picture of Brad Pitt wearing this brand new 222, and I've got attachments to 222, the Vacheron Constantin 222, because that was the one that was sort of the precursor to the first overseas. So things like that come in there are just like, look at, they paid millions for Paul Newman's Rolex, and there's another kind of association. Sometimes it's design. I think that one of the designs that really caught a lot of people was the Christopher Ward. That, I mean, the people used to at that level. Here you have something that is not only interesting looking, but it has a, a chime in it. And then there's people like me, and I don't even know why, that are attracted to the horology of it. I get all excited about that. I went out and bought a Chaumet because it had these two gears by Agenor. So these kinds of things, so when we talk about the emotions that are working, it's sort of lots of stuff to talk about. So let's hear what you guys have to say. Yeah, the emotion of finding a bargain. That's something else. That can be a hard time thing to overcome. I've seen things that, oh man, God, I want that. But then, and it's such a good buy. But then I look at my case and I say, what would I do with that? Would I ever wear it? Sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes it's no. I have a hard time seeing a calendar with these old eyes. Yeah, me too. I've always had great eyesight and lousy hearing, so it was. But the dates. I've got a Far Side calendar that I look at every day. What do I need a date on my watch for? Of course, I got my computer, my iPhone. They got the time perfectly. So what do I need a watch for? So I need the watch for other things. Uh, Damon, emotions, you misspelled sickness. That's good. Oh man. I used to like divers and sports watches now. Yes, yeah, this is something my I the first watch I got was when I started getting more serious was a Patek Philippe Calatrava. But people told me, "Oh, you don't want to wear that to just banging around in because it's you'll hurt it." So they said you got to get a sports watch for everyday work. That's so I got a sports watch. Brian, I wonder, is it better to save up to get one Rolex like an Explorer Submariner? I, I'm excuse me on that one, or instead buy a few mid luxury pieces like Longines, Otis, and North. Well, I would say if you're going to save up for it depends what you want. An Explorer for uh, second time zone, or Explorer for what? It's like that's sort of in the brand, not in necessarily the quality per se. But you're right. I know. I That's a good question. I would say, is it better to save up to buy a Vacheron Content 10, or keep go ahead and keep your old Rolex? Depends who you ask, I guess. Hello, Allie. How you doing? Hey, Stephen. Good evening from London. I have been lucky enough to own a Patek 5146J. What I love is the understated is complexity on the inside, calm on the outside. I bought a new case and now it's full. I'm not going to be buying a new one. Yeah. Mark, Brano, my opinion, instead of thinking of a brand of watch, think about the reason for buying a watch. Yeah, here we come. I think emotions are tied into values as well. Is that there's things? How do we come to value something to make to liven up an emotion? Some things work for some things work for others, and it's that is what triggers an emotion. You fall in love with your eyes first. I don't think any reason. Like if you ask, you tell me your reasons why you like a certain color, you can't give me a logical answer. Well, when we're talking about emotions, we're not necessarily talking about logic, are we? What? Hey, Graham, how you doing? How are things on the island, Mister Gumby? Interesting point, Thomas. About I happen to I don't know why. Uh, I was asked a long time ago. I mean, I was a kid or something, and I was asking what's your favorite color, and I had to come up with a color. So I thought, okay, green. I like green. I like the green and trees and the grass, and I guess emeralds too. I think I was too young to appreciate emeralds. But the same thing. I like red, and I like all kinds of colors, and the colors change in context. I'll tell you something really interesting to me, anyway. My wife wasn't crazy about blue. I mean, she had all these other outfits. It's like these colors, not these. And somehow there was something that was just the right color blue, and she put that on and just loved it. And so now we've been getting a bunch of stuff with blue. Oh, selling watches is easiest when the watches are not attached to a life events. That's a good point. My wife tells me I have too many blue dial watches, so I started buying green dials lately. Now she says I have too many green. Brian, you can't win these things. You really can't. Married my wife based on emotions. Watches the new substitute, still keeping the wife. Sometimes it's a choice. Keep your wife or I mean, if you don't get rid of those watches, I'm leaving. Color is definitely a big part of a watch collection. I tend to avoid having multiple watches the same color. I don't know. I I am not I don't like black dials, okay? And yet this is one of my favorite watches. It's got a black dial but has these red indexes and gold hands, so it's easy. By and large, though, the colors that I have, and I'm talking about old eyes, is ones with good contrast. And a white dial with black indexes and black numbers and black hands, I can read a lot easier than a black one with, especially black ones with people trying to be subtle and they'll have sort of a black dial with gray hands. That's crazy to me. On the other hand, one of my favorite watches, it's got a black dial to it. So does my another favorite with an ETA movement. Actually, is my Chaumet Dandy Arty. I don't know. What triggered an emotion is so deep. I don't think we know. I don't know how deep it is, Ali. In this respect, look at all of the work that watch companies do to connect up an emotion with a watch. They have like this is why watch companies would give anything to associate their watches with like a James Bond character. There was a uh, another watch was is associated with status. Um, the gal, what's her name? The wife of the next king of England. I forgot her name. Anyway, she was photographed. She was called the Duchess of Cambridge. She she was photographed like waving at some point, and she had a Cartier Balloon Blue. And I was talking to a person at the Cartier store in New York City, which is a pretty big store. And I asked the salesperson if she knew about that, and she said yes, one of our top sellers. And I met this other woman on a cruise I was on, and she had one on, and I mentioned that to her. She like I know that, and so what I'm trying to say, Ali, is that there there are these things that work on emotions, and this is why one of the mantras of Madison Avenue, the big advertising guys, is that sex sells. And so you have these things. They use sex, they use status, um, and some of them, not very many, use really great horology. And but apparently, not as many people are attracted to horology on a visceral level as they are to other kinds of things. And I think this is why one of the reasons that both Patek Philippe and Rolex are they're seen as status symbols. And now maybe not as much among serious watch collectors, but others, I mean, look at the major ad that they have with Patek Philippe about, you don't, it's something that becomes an heirloom. It's not just a watch you have. I don't know. In your opinion, what watch brand model will give you the most horological bang for the buck and under 2K price? Brian, I tell you, all you need is a mask and a gun, and I'll tell you which where you can find one. You know, there's some out there. They're really exactly watches like that, and I think this is the thing that some of us have been chanting. In particular, myself and Abdul and some others, is that do the research, find a movement that's been overlooked, or find a movement in a watch. For example, there's a Ralph Lauren watch with this Jaeger-LeCoultre movement in it, and it's a sports watch. I, I'm sure you can find them somewhere, but most people wouldn't even begin to look for that. And so the place to look for to find one with a under $2,000 is to where nobody else is looking, or looking for one that doesn't appeal to the lumpen proletariat, so to speak. Kate Middleton, that's who I was trying to think of, Thomas. Thank you. Don't you own a Bulgari Octo Finissimo? No, I don't. That was a version like skeletonized that are difficult to read at a quick glance. Yeah, no, I don't have one. I don't care for skeletonized watches. One I saw that I did like, oddly enough, was a H. Moser. Um, I think it was either a chronograph or a tourbillon. I think it was a tourbillon. And what they had a perfectly good, clear uh, hour minute dial at the top, and then down below and skeletonized and all this stuff. They had the tourbillon, but what they did was it wasn't so much as skeletonized. It looked skeletonized, but rather using these the bridges, it's sort of like dial bridges that sort of held it up. I think they won a Grand Prix award for it. And so it depends on what is done. There are a lot of MB&F watches that are very different and might be considered to be skeletonized, and uh, they're not. Readability, I think, is a big thing about skeletonized watches that I don't care for. They're hard to read. The masses are always attracted to superficial reason. Yes, I know. This is why you don't have rocket scientists in girly magazines. Okay. Forbin, dubious advertising slogans that work. Think of that plain black dial Movado. Yes, great idea, great example. That's a perfect example of that. And, you know, what kind of movement is it? Who knows? It's probably a very, relatively speaking, cheap movement in it. Yeah, there's the thing more so than skeletonized. I like the finger bridges, and they take out as much of the plates and put in these little bridges that go out to the different dials and so forth. I can't put it into words. Why? Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I thought we could do here is try to put it into words. Yeah. Um, hey, Stephen, I've been thinking about the German watchmaker Dornbluth, a proper watchmaker, caliber 99.1, is a draw at the price point. Okay. I actually have one of these Zenith Movado museum watches, heirloom from my grandfather. It has a quartz movement from Zenith, good as new from there. Huh. Yeah, I think there's some watches that my brother ended up with all of my dad's watches and asked me if I wanted any of them, and I said no, I didn't. I just um, they just didn't appeal to me, and it wasn't because they weren't great watches, but rather there was just they just wasn't an appeal to the particular watches that he had. Hey Al, I love to travel, so GMT has always grabbed my attention. Hey Rustum. On the other hand, if Movado Piaget had quartz watch with a full gold body and for polo in the 70s. I kind of like it actually. This is the funny thing. I'm glad you brought up quartz because I was looking today at some Vacheron Content 10s. I was trying to find a good buy on a Vacheron Content 10. And I came across these and thought, wow, these are really great. And they're quartz. They were overseas quartz. Some of them were women's watches. They were overseas, so and it's sort of something that immediately any kind of interest fell off as soon as it said quartz. Now that is sort of goes beyond just the looks of something, but rather an overall appeal. The Rolexes that I like are not popular ones, and so I like the Air King with the Faraday cage. I like the one they just discontinued, the Yachtmaster 2, because I like the uh, this this regatta sort of countdown mechanism in them. I don't have a yacht. I'm not in regattas, but I like the complications. So it can be a lot of different things. A top tip, getting a birth year watch for me would be a sundial, I'm afraid. Um, Not really. The I mean, you know, I'm a relic born during World War II, and the watches they had back then were, I think, all given for other purposes. I've thought about it, but I mean, not really as something I'd really want to have. Yeah, if they want to look for a budget. Now there's that. I That's something else too. I think pretension. I mean, for someone as who regales in pretension, I'm not criticizing it or those who do it, I suppose, but I mean a quartz watch so you look like you're all that. I don't know. The other kind of thing too, I still don't understand why I like that blasted Fabergé of mine. I love it and I like to wear it. It's I don't even know why. Uh, it's just something about that watch that I like. It's got a solid back. I don't like that. I think it's at 4 hertz. They had tuned it up. It was normally a 3 hertz movement, but they tuned it up to a 4 hertz. Nothing about that except, boy, do I just love putting that thing on and wearing it. Now that's emotion that I don't quite understand, but it's there. Rolls Royce may be the yacht of the automotive world. They're big enough. I used the I had it was called a long wheelbase saloon. It was a Rolls Royce Silver Spur. We had that for about 5 years. My wife and I would go places in that. And that was a lot of fun. Um, the one I want now is a what are they called? a Wraith. The new Wraith is I really like. They quit making them naturally. As soon as I like something, they quit making them. But maybe I'll run out and get a Wraith one of these days if I get lucky. Mike, I got an Aura 65 for my birthday watch. Nice beater watch. You know, a watch doesn't have to be, sometimes the most expensive watch isn't the favorite. Um, when I sold my FP Journe resonance, I had bought it because the whole concept of resonance in constant force in a watch was such an interesting concept. And when I sold it, though, especially for what I got for it, I didn't miss it, and I haven't missed it since then. On the other hand, uh, the other FP Journe I have, I would never want to part with it, and it's pretty much of a plain Jane white dial, you know. So there's certain things that are. Anyway, it's frying pan time. Oh, my time is up by 2 minutes. Anyway, guys, yeah, the whole emotional thing is, I think this is why it's hard, even though I do it, to criticize certain trends in watches, because as long as people are enjoying it and getting feeling that, oh boy, I'm glad I got this watch because of whatever reason. I think we got to realize there's something there that means something to them, and so me and my motor mouth on some of these, I should back off a little, I guess, but I probably won't. Anyway, guys, have a great rest of the weekend, and hope to see you next time. Take care.